Our next speaker is a wonderful orator. I had the great pleasure of hearing him at a function recently in the Mansion House. Terry O'Sullivan, some of you may know him. He's in that great tradition of orators. You get one every generation. Pearse clearly was a great orator. I mean, we all remember those great lines from the oration at the grave of O'Donovan Rossa. The fools, they have left us our Fenian dead. And while Ireland holds these graves, Ireland unfree shall never be at peace. It's the best use of the word holds in that sentence that I've ever heard in any language. It's wonderful. And then Larkin, of course. The great are not great. The great only appear great because we are on our knees. Let us arise. Oratory, it's a wonderful thing. And Terry is a terrific orator. Terry is the president of the Labourers International Union of North America. He's a longtime friend of Sinn Féin, president of the New York Friends of Sinn Féin, and chairman of the DC Friends of Ireland. Terry is so good that when he talks about Gerry Adams, Gerry gets embarrassed. And it's hard to embarrass Gerry. So it's with great pleasure I call on Terry O'Sullivan to talk to you.
Thank you, Peter, for that very kind introduction and for your remarkable contributions to and passionate promotion of both Irish culture and history. Your work has exposed millions of people around the world to many of the heroes, events, and struggles of this proud country. Let's give it up for a true Irish patriot, Peter Sheridan. Brothers and sisters, as a proud Irish American whose grandfather came from Glencar in County Kerry, it is a pleasure, a privilege, and an honor not only to once again have the opportunity to address this Ardèche, but to do so as we celebrate and commemorate the events of 1916. Before I begin, there are a few people I'd like to recognize. First, it is humbling and an honor to be here this evening with two of my personal heroes, Gerry Adams and Martin McGuinness. As I've said many times before, I have the utmost respect and admiration for both of these men and their unwavering commitment to fighting for justice, equality, and prosperity for all of the people of Ireland. They are true visionaries of peace and men of great personal and political courage, who despite being targeted and harassed, imprisoned, persecuted, and even shot, have never backed up, have never backed down, and have always stayed true to the cause of a free and united Ireland. It is great to be here in Dublin with both Gerry and Martin. You know, to me, they show us what it takes and what it means to be a true leader. It is a privilege to call them my friends and an honor for me to call them both my brothers. I would be remiss if I didn't recognize two other individuals before I say a few words. I want to recognize Mary Lou MacDonald, Vice President of Sinn Féin on a TD for the Dublin Central. I admire her, I enjoy working with her. And I also want to recognize Rita O'Hare, Sinn Féin representative to the United States. And with all due respect to all of us, when there's a fight, when there's a problem in a situation, there's no one I'd rather be in a foxhole with than Rita O'Hare, that's for sure. My friends, as you know, tomorrow will mark 100 years to the day since one of the most significant events in Irish history, the 1916 Easter Rising, and the proclamation which we just heard of the Irish Republic. In this centennial year, Ireland's exiled children in America are remembering the role Americans played in the Rising. We're proud that Irish Americans promoted the cause, raised money, smuggled arms, and even put their lives on the line to support the rising. Among the signers of the proclamation were many who had spent time in the United States, who took their inspiration from the American struggle for independence from British rule, and had been part of the trade union movement in both the United States and Ireland. When the martyrs of 1916 proclaimed the Republic, Irish Americans cheered, rallied, and rejoiced. And imagine we had a drink or two as well. And none more enthusiastically than American trade unionists. Many of these members had fled persecution, poverty, and oppression in Ireland, only to find a different sort of struggle in the United States. But these exiled children of Ireland did not despair. They became involved in and helped build the American labor movement. From Terence Powderly of the Knights of Labor, to Mother Jones of the mine workers, to many of those who founded my union, Irish immigrants and their descendants brought their Irish fighting spirit to the struggle for workers' rights. Just as they would not be broken by British troops, Ulster volunteers, or even the murderous black and tans in Ireland, so they would not be intimidated by company goons, state militias, or pinkerton thugs in the United States. Just as they yearned for freedom and self-rule for their ancestral homeland, so they demanded freedom and collective bargaining on construction sites and in the mines, the factories, and the sweatshops of their adopted home. As a great Irish patriot and labor leader, James Connolly famously proclaimed just before the Rising, "The cause of labor is the cause of Ireland. The cause of Ireland is the cause of labor." These were more than just mere words. They were an inspiration and a rallying cry for those who took up arms in Connolly's Citizens' Army, a fighting force born of necessity to defend striking workers from brutality and abuse during the 1913 Dublin lockout, led by Irish labor leader Big Jim Larkin. These patriots brought together three of the greatest movements of the entire 20th century: the nationalist movement, the women's movement, and the labor movement, as they sought to establish a republic based on economic and social justice, equal rights, religious liberty, and self-determination. As people who had endured the man-made calamity of the famine, the sting of hatred and bigotry, and the inhumane effects of extreme poverty, they knew better than anyone that freedom cannot exist without justice, and justice cannot exist without freedom. The martyrs of 1916 would want us to honor them by continuing to fight for freedom and justice. They would warn us not to lose sight of the connection between national liberation and social justice. Those brave Irish patriots surely would condemn those who honor the Rising but abandon its spirit, celebrate its heroes but ignore what they stood for, mourn the dead but allow ladders of opportunity to be snatched from the living. They would want us to recommit ourselves not only to achieving a free and united Ireland, but building a world of economic justice for all. The rebels of 1916 and their American supporters were true freedom fighters and warriors of the working class. They struck a blow for liberty and justice that echoed across the 20th century. 100 years later, the struggle continues and our work remains unfinished. Methods may change, but the goals remain the same: dignity, freedom, and equality. The people of Ireland and the people of the United States continue to battle misguided economic policies that destroy the middle class and drive young people to migrate, emptying out entire towns and villages. We continue to struggle against those who would silence workers, destroy unions, and eliminate collective bargaining. In both of our countries, there are those who stoke the fires of prejudice and bigotry to fuel their own successes, create distractions, and divide and conquer groups that should always be working together. This is not the world the martyrs of 1916 laid down their lives to build. This is not the vision they embraced. This is not the future they sought to hand to their descendants. Our challenge today is to reverse these trends and make real the world, the vision, and the future of the heroes of 1916. It falls to us today to complete the work started a century ago. We must ensure that the longed-for tidal wave of justice can rise up and hope and history rhyme. We must honor our past and ensure the promise of our future. We must continue to support the peace process, fight for economic justice, and unite all of Ireland under one flag, one nation, and one government. Just as Irish Americans in the labor movement stood with the people in Ireland in 1916, today, in 2016, we are ready to support them, to work with them, and to fight alongside them to fully implement the Good Friday Agreement and to bring about a full and just peace. So, brothers and sisters, let us raise our voices together so that everyone in Ireland, in America, and around the world hears and sees the determination, the tenacity, the power, and the fury of our cause. Let us arise from this hall and make the walls tremble, the grounds shake, the mountains echo, and the sky thunder, with our righteous demand for a free, just, and united Ireland. We will not be denied, we will not be deterred, and we sure as hell will never be defeated. So, my proud brothers and sisters of Sinn Féin, let us stand together, let us stay together, let us fight together, and let us win together. And in the course, we will change the course, the direction, and the destiny of this great island, of this great world. God bless you. Thank you for having me. May God bless Ireland and the United States of America.